What's up, YouTube? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and this is my review of the Eachine 3D X4. And this is the thing here. I know you guys are probably saying finally, but I've been having a ton of problems with this thing. Just a bunch of problems with it. First off, let me say that this thing looks awesome. Red and black is it's just a really awesome color scheme. It's really hard looking. This thing looks sinister. I mean, this thing is just awesome, man, the way it looks anyway. But this thing sucks as an inverted flyer. And I say this thing sucks as an inverted flyer because when you flip this thing over, the controls don't switch with it. So everything become opposite. All the controls are opposite when you flip this thing over. So it's very confusing. And the whole point of this thing was to make inverted flying easy. But this thing fails miserably. I think they failed at this one. This is actually the Chinese company's first attempt or first crack at competition for the Blade Nano QX 3D, and they just failed with this one because they didn't add that feature. And the Blade Nano QX 3D makes inverted flying very easy because you can flip over when you flip over. When you invert with the Blade Nano QX 3D, the controls stay the same, so it's not really hard to fly it upside down. It's just the same as flying it right side up because the controls switch with it. And so this thing is really hard to fly once you invert it. But not just that, I was having problems with this thing actually staying afloat. This thing was just crashing into the ground. You guys can see here my canopy is all scuffed up. I was pretty pissed about that because this is an awesome looking canopy. I really like the canopy. I didn't see anywhere that I can buy a replacement canopy for it, so mine's is still scuffed up. But this thing kept hitting the ground, and I think the problem was the props. I was having, man, a ton of problems with the props. The props were breaking on me. First off, when you invert it, every time, I think other people were not noticing the lack of power when you invert this thing, because other people were saying that they didn't notice it, but I like to fly fast, and every time I would fly this thing fast and try to invert, it seemed like the motors weren't strong enough to turn the props fast enough to catch this thing once you invert it. So when I'm flying fast and I invert, it would hit the ground every time. And I saw Sebidaki flying his the first time, and his kept hitting the ground. His hit the ground a couple times, but he really didn't mention it, anything about it. But mine's kept hitting the ground, and the props were extra easy to break, super easy to break. So I broke all of my props except for one. They were just breaking left and right, and it comes with a full set of spares, but I used them all up. Because every time I would crash, the prop would split in half from the post there. And so just a ton of problems with the props on this. And people were saying that they didn't have any problems. But surely there was a problem because Banggood, which is the parent company of Eachine, Eachine is actually a company under Banggood. Banggood came out with upgrade props for this thing, and these are it right here. They look like the Blade Nano QX 3D's props, so you can see that. That's a testament that there was a problem with the props actually, and these props are a lot better. Once I bought these and installed these, I never hit the ground again when inverting. People were saying, oh, maybe you're not used to the controls being opposite when you flip over. But that wouldn't make you hit the ground with it. That's what I was saying. It just doesn't make sense to me that would be it, because the thing just kept hitting the ground. But it doesn't hit the ground anymore now with these props on it. But this still doesn't fix the issue of the controls being opposite when you flip it over. So this thing sucks as an inverted flyer. Here are the props just to show you guys what the original prop looked like. This, let me take one of these props off and install it. Now my guess is, from looking at this prop here, this prop, as you can see, it's larger than the props that the upgrade props. So they went smaller with the props, And my guess, these things are huge compared to the little ones, the upgrade ones. And my guess was that the motors, these are 7mm motors. They were not powerful enough to spin this thing in the other direction to catch this thing, to catch the quad when you flip it over. So because the motors switched directions, I don't think it was changing directions fast enough with these large props here. So they had to go small with the little ones here, and now it has no problems with inverting or hitting the ground or anything. Now these props here, they're actually very flimsy. They actually hold. If you bend it too much, it'll stay bent in that orientation. I really don't like those props. They're really flimsy, and they're bigger and heavier. And these motors, like I said, they're 7mm motors, but they're not 7x20 motors. These things are shorter. They're about the same length as the 6mm motors. I don't know what length that is, but they are shorter, but they are 7mm motors. But the posts, also the posts are skinnier. The posts are the size of the 6mm motor posts. So you can't fit normal 7mm props on this thing. And I like to fly this actually with normal props. The invert feature is just nonsense. It's just too hard to figure out. Too much. I think it sucks on this quad. So I like to fly it normally. So I like to take the 3D props off and put normal props on there. But the posts are too skinny for normal props for 7mm motors. So you have to use props from 6mm motors. But the X9's props actually work nice. The X7's props, as well as the CG023. I use all of those props, and this thing flies a lot better. It flies really well with those props, any of those props, which are identical to each other actually, but it makes this thing fly better. It gives it more power, more speed, everything. They're just more efficient. These 3D props aren't very efficient actually, and they actually give more push. They have more pitch when flying upside down actually, these props. So if you turn these props upside down somehow, you should be able to get a better flight experience without flipping it over. But it just sucks as an inverted flyer. I really like to fly it normally though, and this thing looks hard. It looks really sinister. I like the way it looked. I'm thinking about doing a chop shop episode with this thing and seeing what I can do with it. I'll leave the details out so you guys can check out the chop shop episode if I do end up doing it. But to the transmitter is not bad. But the gimbals on the transmitter suck. Why do I say that? Because on the throttle side, it sticks in the corners here. You can see it stays on the corners up there, down at the bottom. But it doesn't stick on the sides. Well, actually it does stick on the sides a little bit, but the throttle sticks. And this is the exact same controller almost as the controller for the CG023, but its controller doesn't stick like this. Mine's don't anyway. So and they do look a little different, so it's not the exact same controller. So the transmitter is a little different, but this transmitter isn't bad except for the gimbals. The gimbals, just this one, the throttle stick is kind of bad. But you can actually, it comes with these thumb pads, optional thumb pads. You can pull these sticks off and fly with the thumb pads if you like that. Comes off. You can stick these thumb pads on, or you can actually leave the stick on and still put the thumb pad on top of the stick. Here, let me show you guys that. People probably didn't see that. People missed that part. You can actually have the thumb pads on here for a taller stick, a little more precise, or you can still pinch with them on. So let me see, I dropped one of the thumb pads down in here. One of the sticks actually. So I like the options with the gimbals here, but this gimbal just sucks right here. It has an LCD screen on there, but it's really small. You do have 3 rates with this, 100% rates, 60% and 20%. You can toggle the lights on and off, but the lights are useless. The lights are just like the X9's lights. They're too close together, so you can't use it for night flying. It takes 4 AA batteries. The flip button is right here. This is how you invert. This thing is set to have, I believe, headless mode, but I can't get the headless mode to work. This one right here is supposed to be it, but it does nothing for me. And these buttons up here don't do anything. So it actually came, I don't have the motor right here. It actually came with a 300 and I want to say 80 milliamp hour battery, I think it was. Man, I had this thing for a while, and so I've been flying it with all types of batteries. But you can actually get a 500 milliamp hour battery, Hudson battery in here, and fly it with that. It actually flies the same. It doesn't really impact performance that much, especially with these upgraded props. It still inverts and stays afloat with it. But I don't like to fly it inverted. I don't like to invert this thing at all. I like to, like I said, I take the X9's props or the CG023 props and put them on here and just fly it without inverting, and it flies really nice. Coupled with a 500 milliamp hour battery, this thing flies really nice. I really wish that the posts were a little bigger on the motors, not those skinny 6mm posts on there. So you can fit some real props on there for 7mm motors, and it'll fly a lot better, I bet. I'll probably throw some CG022 props on it. But anyhow, let's go check this thing out in flight. Okay, so this is the indoor flight demo of the Eachine 3D X4 inverted flyer. Kind of bound to the transmitter. Let's check it out. So this is the low rates. That's the pitch on low rates. That's the yaw. Pretty slow yaw, but decent for flying indoors. You can bank turns and fly it really nice, even on low rates. Let's go to mid rates. Kind of awkward to find the rates too, where the button placement is. This is the yaw. Same yaw, looks like. A little bit more pitch. And so let's hit the ceiling with it. Okay, there you go, 100% rates. This is the yaw. So the yaw is kind of fast now. So you can do nice funnels with it. However, these props are not really efficient, so you can't really hold a nice funnel with deep pitch. You can give it a little pitch. But really maneuverable though on high rates. Nice yaw rate. So let's check it out inverted. Whoops. So like I said, the controls don't switch with it, so it's a little awkward when you invert with it for the first time. It does recognize what side it's on. In other words, if you flip it upside down and take off, it'll still take off. So we're inverted now. Everything switched. Let me get it back flipped over before I kill myself with it. Put my eye out or something. There you go. That was cool. flipped off the wall there. Let me see. You can toggle the lights on and off there. I don't know if you guys can see that. And the headless mode, I just can't get it to work. Yeah, so it just beeps, but it doesn't do anything. Oops, I'm throwing something over there. Actually, let me show you guys. You can take off from upside down. So yeah, so a pretty nice flyer though, flying it normally. But as soon as you invert, that's where the problems start. Unless you're a really good 3D pilot and you're used to that. But as you can see, I'm not. Get it back front and center. I have a 300 milliamp hour battery in here. I think the stock battery is a little larger. Trying to get used to inverting with it, and it's not working out. Let me throw it back out. So it is a really nice flyer though when you're just flying it upright. Could use some power, but I think that's because of the props actually. I can fly it for a little while inverted, but then it's just a matter of time before I get all confused and crash. Can hand toss it. Slide it around until LVC. Don't think I mentioned the LVC. Can't get it back. Yeah, so it lacks power with these props, so if you make really hard turns, it just goes to the ground. The props can't hold it up. Let me see if I can recalibrate the accelerometers. Both sticks to the center, recalibrates it. And it looks like we're reaching low battery because it's feeling really weak in the air. Yep, there's the LVC warning. And so it's down. That's it. The Eachine 3D X4. Thanks for watching.